Legally, what does the bank or any lender have to produce to prove they are still the rightful owners of the debt? There are two major items your creditor must produce to prove they are the rightful owners of the debt. 1. Your creditor must locate the original wet ink signed loan document, not a photocopy, and prepare it for inspection. 2. Your creditor must produce a sworn affidavit by a chartered accountant verifying the debt was not sold and still appears on your creditor's accounting ledgers as an asset. Keep in mind, when your creditor cannot produce the aforementioned items, this is what allows you, together with your private lender, to negotiate a minimum 25% discount and release you from the high compound interest rate debt trap. The condition that must be satisfied by your creditors before you and the private lender will forward funds is very simply stated as follows. Please locate the original wet ink signed loan document, not a photocopy, and prepare for inspection accompanied by a sworn affidavit by a chartered accountant verifying the debt was not sold and still appears on the accounting ledgers as an asset. For your creditor to simply show you a photocopy of the contract you signed does not prove they are the rightful owners of the debt. The wet ink original contract you signed is the proof that they are still the rightful owners of the debt. For example, if you signed the original contract with blue ink, the contract your creditors produce to prove they are still the rightful owners of the debt must have your signature in blue ink. The original contract you signed that has the blue ink on it is the asset your creditor could have sold. If your creditor can produce only a photocopy of the contract you signed, it is not sufficient. A photocopy of the contract you signed is simply a picture of the asset. It does not prove that they still own the asset. A good analogy is, if you were going to buy a car from me, and it was time to hand over the funds to buy the car, and you asked me for proof of ownership of the vehicle, and I responded with, "I do not have it with me right now," would you feel comfortable handing over the funds? Of course not, due to the fact that I cannot prove I am the rightful owner of the car. With that said, if your creditor can prove they are still the rightful owners of the debt, we simply pay them out in full. If they sold the debt, we just need to know who they sold it to, so we can deal with the rightful owner of the debt instead. If your creditor did sell your debt, they would have sold it to the world market, or in other words, they securitized the debt. When the world market resells the debt, the bank or the agent of the world market will not be able to produce the proper paperwork to prove who is in fact the rightful owner. Why? The bank will bundle 2,000 Canadian borrowers' loan contracts and sell them to the world market. The world market will in turn create asset-backed securities and sell the 2,000 loan documents to 10,000 investors. To sell 2,000 loans to 10,000 investors means they must have cut each loan contract into 5 pieces and sold those pieces individually. Therefore, asking any entity to produce proof of ownership of the debt is impossible once your debt has been securitized. We will be able to analyze your debt to tell you whether or not it was securitized, that is, sold to the world market, simply by filling out the secure application form here on our website. Here are only 2 of many ways to quickly check if your debt has been securitized, that is, sold to the world market. 1. Check your statements and/or paperwork pertaining to the debts you would like to reduce. If your name appears in all capital letters on any statements or paperwork pertaining to the loan, your creditors have most likely already sold the debt. Also, notice on your credit cards your name appears in all capital letters. 2. All credit card or loan agreements refer to the following. Your creditor may, without notice to you and without your consent, sell, transfer, pledge, or assign all or part of this agreement to any third party. This paraphrase, found within all credit card or loan agreements, proves your creditor was contemplating selling your debt to a third party from the date your contract was signed.